Let's look into the future if we can. And some experts saying that coding is going to be essential. I would argue it's essential at the moment. Now, you have to almost compare it, and I would agree, to having basic computer literacy. That's how important it is today. Nelson Mandela University's Tangible Africa is looking to extend that skill to the visually impaired. So we now wrap up World Blindness Awareness Month, and we're going to speak to those involved in the project. Very kind to come in and make time for me this morning. Tshabalala from the university joining us this morning, Nelson Mandela University, of course, and Samantha Daniels joining us via Zoom, a teacher from down in Cape Town, a visually impaired teacher, I understand as well. Samantha, I'll come to you in just a moment. I'd like to start with you, first of all. Jackson, morning.
Morning,
Good to have you with us.
Great to be
and
here.
I know we're going to talk about, I don't want to use the insensitive word. Is it Braille for coding? Am I saying it right?
Yes, so it's coding for the visually impaired.
Okay, but
yes.
how would you even do that?
So we've created a project or product that introduces coding without the use of computers. This was started in 2017 at Nelson Mandela University, and we've expanded it throughout Africa, and we've even gone into Europe. And the idea is you play with puzzle pieces, tokens, you assemble them together, and then you have a low-cost mobile device, and there's a challenge, there's a game in it. And then you have to move a vehicle from one destination to the other by assembling the tokens. So now we've made those tokens Braille. And they are tactile tokens. So now we even introduce coding to the visually impaired without the use of computers.
And I know you've brought one of the examples with you. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Samantha, let me come over to you down in Cape Town and help me understand for a teacher in the academic space and someone who is visually impaired, and I hope I'm using the correct terminology here, how important is this? Where do you fit into all of this? Samantha, morning.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Jackson, and to all the viewers. Look, when the training was introduced, or coding was introduced on the 11th of October, I was so excited because everywhere on the news, everywhere it's like about coding for everyone. I always wondered whether coding would be possible for the visually impaired. And I think in terms of education, it's so important because we're moving towards, in fact, we are in the midst of inclusivity overall, not just in education, but, inclusive everywhere. So once the children, the learners at the visually impaired school, whether you are partially sighted or totally blind, once they finish school, they sort of leave school and they move on to either work or tertiary education, and they basically study with students who are not visually impaired. So it sort of creates that whole sense of inclusivity. They can sort of speak the same language and sort of integrate it in various career fields and so on. And also now at school, it basically open up their minds, to the whole problem solving and understanding and creative thinking, critical thinking in actual fact. Definitely, it helps.
And I heard Jackson nodding and agreeing as well, and because and I love the way Samantha explained that it's a different language, but it's a universal language.
Exactly.
You don't just see the language, you hear it, you feel it as well.
You can touch it.
You can touch it. I want you to touch this. I want you to open that box for me. And just explain, because I may have to ask you to hold it up for cameras as well.
So what we have here is our first game packs. So you had these ranges tokens. This is called ranges, introducing learners to coding, but also talking about wildlife and anti-poaching. Then you'll see here, mind if I stand?
Stand up, go ahead. Let's do it.
And then you'll see there are puzzle pieces that have instructions on them.
Yeah.
So move forward, turn left, turn right. But these were for the learners who could see the puzzles.
Okay.
And then when we redesigned it, and then of course this has levels on a phone.
Yes.
We redesigned these levels to be actually 3D printed.
Okay.
So they can touch the actual coding. This is Braille for level
Braille
1.
At the top there. Yeah,
Yes.
let me lift it up. If I got a camera somewhere, there we go. Let's go to camera 4 as well. What we're talking about is the Braille, just the top over here, and obviously there's the puzzle that you're talking about down there
and
as well.
And it gets a bit more complicated, so it doesn't get easy, but it gets even more complex.
All right, so obviously this is where the Braille is coming in. Samantha, while we're busy looking at this, just help me understand how easy is it to introduce something as complicated as coding? Because I'm too stupid to understand coding at the best of times. I mean, how do you even try and introduce this into a class of those who are visually impaired?
Very good question. Thank you. Look, because obviously with a kit comes, there's like a tactile mat or sort of like a material grid, that we sort of put on the place on the ground. So we were introduced with obviously with tanks and so on. So it's got a whole lot of blocks in it, and then we got the star. So it's tangible. In order to sort of, for me, when I introduced it to my totally blind and partially sighted kids, I sort of had to get them to sort of feel this is what it feels like, the actual larger tank and the larger star, if you know what I mean, if you can see there on the board there, you know, so sort of to show them that these are the movable objects on the ground, and so this is the grid, and then from there I sort of moved them on towards the actual tactile with the puzzles and so on with the braille on it. And obviously because they know braille, and also I saw that they've even incorporated uncontracted braille, which is good. They also have to understand that also, to know, the learners have to know uncontracted braille as well. So for me, I had to first go from the bigger sort of objects of the tank and the star and the grid, and then let them feel that to sort of get a mental picture over. Then I moved them over to the smaller tactile tangible objects.
I see the star as well and everything on here, level 1, etc. And James, I want to talk to, because now we get into the pieces. So earlier we had those smaller puzzle pieces, but there was no braille.
There was no braille.
Here we have, I'm not sure how much of a zoom we've got on this. The braille I can feel at the bottom. At the bottom,
start right there.
So it says
start.
Oh, is that start?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Start, and then we have shoot. We have move forward, and we have a bunch of. Everything that you saw there has been turned into a tactile version of braille.
How advanced can, maybe, let me start with Jackson on this one. Samantha, I'll ask you the same question. In the world of coding, when it comes to those who are visually impaired, because I'm wondering, as Samantha suggested, beyond your formal studies, moving into the workplace, how advanced can this get? I'm just looking at how potential employers might want to employ someone who is visually impaired in the coding space. In the real world, practically, how far can you go with this?
We've been even working with people who are visually impaired. We've gone into cybersecurity.
Wow.
So you can go as far as getting a full-blown career into the space. So our job is to introduce the world of coding. But there are so many platforms that are teaching coding to visually impaired people to actually get a career. I was in Kenya recently, and I was with an organization called Enable Africa. And they actually have web developers who are blind and visually impaired. And I was at a conference that is all about tech for the visually impaired across Africa and across the world. So the real idea of inclusivity is happening right now before our eyes. And that's a great way to just state that education is not limited to people who historically had advantages before. There's a real inclusive approach to education, not just for visually impaired, but for even those who are less resourced.
And on the visually impaired, Samantha Daniels as well, give me a sense, as I start saying goodbye to both of you, do you get a sense from your pupils then that this is a whole world of opportunities that has opened up to them as well? Because just a few years ago, this wasn't even possible.
Yes, they've definitely. I mean, I can already see, I had my grade 4s, I had my grade 5s, and they were like, Miss, what is this, And I started telling them, well, look, there's a problem. You need to get the tank to the star. How would you get that? How would you do that? And together, I could see that they are, at one point, they're getting a bit frustrating, and then the one child was saying, no, guys, let's figure out something else. So already, it's opening their minds up to thinking critically, thinking creatively. Instead of moving forward, yes, we can move to the left, first left, then right, and then we can decide later on, move back, and then still find our way swiftly to the target, which in this case is the star. So for them, definitely, it's something new, and they are very interested and they're very excited. I, myself as a teacher and as a visually impaired teacher, I'm extremely excited about, the future basically for them.
It just looks like a lot of fun to do.
It will open up career fields.
It looks like it's a lot of fun to do as well. I want to ask you, Jackson, before I say goodbye to you, I want to make sure that everyone, and there's Samantha saying it's great fun, as well as I want to talk about the tactile coding workshop. So if someone's watching there, listening to this, they want to get hold of, they want to talk about this, where do they try and begin this?
So this project was founded, we started it with Bona Ubuntu. They are visually impaired. They do extra education for visually impaired, non-profit organization in Gqeberha. And I worked there with Shanice Human. We studied together. And then we developed, I'm sure there was a way we can teach coding to visually impaired. So the workshops have been done with SATU, South African Democratic Teachers Union.
Yep.
And the idea is reach us on Lever Foundation or Tangible Africa on Facebook. And then we have info@leverfoundation.org. That's info@leverfoundation.org. And let us know, hey, we'd love this tactile workshop to come to a school near us, because we have actually done workshops throughout the whole country, at every province through our partnership with SATU. We've trained about 600 teachers who can train and who can run workshops. So Samantha was one of those teachers. So if you're in Cape Town, if you're in Kimberley, if you're in Joburg, if you're in Durban, we can get it to you.
Yeah.
Just reach out to us. And let's see how we can expand this throughout the country, the continent, and the world.
Yeah. info@leverfoundation.org.
Yes, leverfoundation.org, L-E-V-A foundation.org.
Oh, Lever, L-E-V-A foundation.org. All right, so let's make sure everyone gets that. info@leverfoundation.org. Lever is spelled L-E-V-A. This is wonderful. Thank you for coming in and making time for doing this. Samantha, congratulations to you and your pupils as well. It's a whole new world opening up. I mean, I don't even know how to do it, and I'm not visually impaired. So to look at this and then understand how easy it is for these youngsters to pick this up, I think is just wonderful. Thank you very much to Jackson Tshabalala coming in, Nelson Mandela University, Samantha Daniels via Zoom. Good luck to you and your pupils. I'd like to follow up with you again in about a year's time, see the growth of how this is going.